Whoa, legendary!
What is up, guys? Welcome to another Top 5 with Kris 05. The end of the season is closing in, so today I will give you 5 of the best decks to climb ladder with in January. The meta right now is really diverse, and you can see pretty much any class on the ladder, but what you will see the most is Hunter, of course, and a fair amount of Priest as well. I would love it if you drop a like if you enjoyed the video and smash subscribe if you're new to the channel. No pressure, no pressure. Anyway, let's see the decks. I guess it is fair to start this top 5 with a Hunter deck, since you know, Hearthstone. If you're sick of playing against all those Hunters, then this deck is perfect for you. Hybrid Hunter is a mix between the old Secret Hunter and the new mid-range Beast Hunter, and the result is quite frightening. This is a really well-rounded and powerful deck, and it doesn't really have any counters that are popular on the ladder. You have great early game, amazing mid game, and a lot of late game potential too. To be completely honest, the deck doesn't have bad matchups, just slightly unfavored ones. Having so many Hunter decks in the meta right now is also working greatly in its favor, since your opponent can never really be too sure against what he's playing against until he sees both a Beast and a Secret getting played. It is really versatile, and you can do a lot of crazy stuff with it. You can get a Hyena out of control as soon as turn 3 or 4, or you can throw an early buffed up Spellstone out. Rexxar's amazing value is always nice to have, and you can draw a ton with Subject 9. If somehow that doesn't do the trick for you, Zildjian comes to the rescue with some more Spellstones, Secrets and Master's Call. Pretty balanced, right? Some of the few slightly unfavored matchups is Cubelock, and most Paladins can be tricky too. Playing against those Priests is a bit awkward as well, but you should be fine against them most of the time. For the mulligan, you have a ton of options, but keeping a Diramol, a Razor Maw and a Spellstone is always right if you ask me. Against faster decks, keeping Springpaw and Hyena is great, and if you have Spellstone in hand, a couple of secrets won't hurt, but keep in mind that they will instantly know exactly what you are playing. Against warriors, keeping Rexxar is your best shot, since you will need the value to get through the tons of armor and removal he has in store for you. The deck is not that expensive, and most of the high cost cards are a pretty safe craft as well, so if you want to climb some ranks fast and easy, I'd say this deck is perfect for you. Don't get me wrong, pretty much all of the Hunter decks in the current meta are amazing, but I believe this one is probably the best of them. If you, however, want to check out my mid-range Hunter guide, you can do so from this link. If you're tired of losing to all those hybrid and spell hunters, then Cubelock is the deck for you. Amazingly, this deck is still top tier after so many seasons and expansions, with absolutely minimum changes. The deck can be absurdly strong at times, and your opponent will have little to no chance to do anything against you. Your strong reactive early game, your crazy mid game, and your late game bomb potential is just too good to pass by. But like I said in my last top 5, if you don't own most of the cards for this deck and you're strictly a standard player, then Cubelock is not worth for you, since pretty much every card from the deck will rotate out to wild, and it's far from a cheap deck. Cubelock, like any other deck, is not invincible though. Your scary matchups with this deck are the mid-range Beast Hunter, Odd Rogue, and even Paladin. Both priests are considered strong against it too, even though I had really good positive win rate against those. I would say mid-range Hunter and Odd Rogue are your worst enemies, since they tend to push through your early game quite easily, and you need to be a bit lucky to be able to stabilize and take the game from there. For the mulligan, against aggressive decks, you just want to survive, keeping all of your early game minions AoEs and Amethysts. Against Hunters, you need to aggressively search for those Hellfires, because you will really need them as soon as turn 4 or 5. Against not so aggressive decks, you can keep your Possessed Lackey, Giants, and maybe Amethysts, so you can buff it up early on for some big mid-game threat. In conclusion, the deck is amazing, but there is a learning curve to it, and it is very expensive and not practical to craft, but if you have it, you can definitely give it a go. If you're fed up losing to Cubelocks, then Odd Rogue is the deck for you. Odd Rogue is still really strong, as long as you don't see too many hybrid and spell hunters, and paladins. Your great early and mid game potential is very strong against most of the other aggressive decks, as well as against the slower decks. The crazy amount of burst you can come up with is also very scary, and it will force your opponents to sometimes play suboptimally just to prevent any potential lethals. If you are able to stick an early fledgling, most of the time that would be enough for a quick win. But if that doesn't do it for you, Myra's Unstable Element will. Having such a powerful draw tool is absolutely insane for this deck, and it can win you most of the unfavorable matchups. Also, I find that the Captain Greenskin version is working a bit better than the double Cobalt one, but if you're on a budget, it's not that bad too. For the mulligan, you always want to find your Henge Thug and some 1-drops. Keeping a Cold Blood with a Firefly might also be a good idea versus classes that struggle against early aggression, so you might want to try that out. Against hunters, I'd say it's a good idea to mulligan Heart for your Tar Creepers and even throw away your Fledgling and Henge Clan Thugs, since they will almost always have an answer for those, and you will be left with nothing on the board. If you are against a Warlock and you have the coin, you can even keep Vile Spineslayer for the early giant removal as soon as turn 4. Overall, the deck is not that expensive, and most of the legendaries are safe crafts that will be here for a while. Currently, it's not really a Tier 1 deck, but it is still very strong, and you should be able to climb a lot with it. And if you had it up to here from losing to Odd Rogue, you can go for Odd Paladin. Surprisingly, even after the seemingly gruesome nerf to Odd Paladin, this deck is still Tier 1. I guess not even Blizzard can stop this ridiculous aggro machine, and the deck is still pawning left and right. It is considered to be the go-to deck for any rank, and there are very few decks that have an advantage over it. The raw refill power of this deck and the good burst potential it has is too much for most decks, and they simply can't put up with it. Most of the time, your opponents will just clear a few of your boards without building one for themselves, but in the end, they run out of steam while you are still just getting started. For the mulligan, you want strong 1-drops and maybe a Maul for a powerful turn 3. If you are playing against aggro, keeping Stonehill Defender is a great idea too, but if you're against control, Divine Favor and Corridor Creeper can prove handy. If it's easy ranks you're looking for and you're on a budget, Odd Pally can really do it for you. There are a lot of other great Paladin lists out there now too, but if it's fast and cheap you're looking for, then look no further. It only runs 2 legendaries and both of them are safe crafts, so you're good to go. And if you want to punish those Odd Paladins, then Control Priest is your deck. Priest has been out of the meta for quite a while, but now we have several versions of them on the ladder. A big part in Control Priest rising in popularity once more is thanks to the new dragon synergies it got from the latest set. Fire Tree Witch Doctor gives the deck some unpredictability, and the Crowd Roaster is a great way to remove a big threat while you put a solid body yourself. The deck is far from easy to pilot, and it will take you some time to master it, but when you do, you will have almost no unfavorable matchups. Right now, only warriors seem to be the real threat to this deck, but I am seeing less and less of them on ladder, so you should be fine. Against the fast aggro decks, you just have to survive the early game so you can stabilize and take it from there, and you have a lot of tools to do that. Against control, you just have to reach the late game and start smashing them with hero powers and mind blasts. Ideally, you will throw your pyro on a stick at them before you start burning them. For the mulligan, you always want your cleric, power word shield, Witchwood Doctor and Twilight Drake. If you're versus fast aggro decks, Duskbreaker is a great keep, and if you're against slow control decks, Anduin is a solid keep too. If you are facing Warlock, you must dig hard for that Twilight Acolyte, or you will find yourself getting rammed in the mouth for 8 or more damage more often than you would like. In conclusion, the deck is really powerful, and it is not incredibly expensive too. If you're ready to put in the work and learn how to play it, you should achieve good results with it, but keep in mind that the core card for this deck, Shadow Reaper Anduin, is leaving in 3 months. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope these decks help you climb a lot on ladder. Don't forget to check out World of Duels for the chance to win cash from playing Hearthstone duels and tournaments. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video.